sa karanasan mo po, tingnan ba nakasalanan natin dito?
Media educators and journalists call to defend press freedom.
This corruption in media won't be reduced to a minimum.
Tanungin natin. Gusto mo?
Inaalok mo raw ang mga lawmakers ng mga kickbacks na manggagaling sa kanilang PDAF. Totoo po ba ito?
Hindi po totoo. Hindi po totoo. Hindi po totoo.
Sisinungaling siya kasi bago po ako pumasok, 2002, meron na siyang mga kliyente at nag-form nauna na po nag-form ang tatlong NGO na nag-transact na.
I invoke my right against self-incrimination.
And focus, first things first, is the vetting of the veracity, the truthfulness, of the plausibility, the credibility of the story.
Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Welcome to News Cafe. Increasing public disappointment over the slow pace of our justice system and the constant unfolding drama has the media in a frenzy, churning out what seems to be a bottomless barrel of information on the pork barrel scam. Tonight, we analyze how the media has been tackling this issue, how they influence public perception, and how they should be communicating such sensitive information. Joining me tonight are Vergel Santos, journalist and chairman of the media watchdog Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility, and Prospero Popoy de Vera, political analyst and professor of public administration at UP. Good evening, Vergel and Popoy. Thank you for being here tonight. So it's going to be a year in July since this whole scandal erupted. How do you make sense of the evolution of this whole scandal, especially in terms of the media? Let's start with you, Vergel. How has the media tackled this issue?
Well, the media seems to me to have been adding to the confusion and sorting the confusion out. Well, not that I'm indicting them for all this. I can understand that as simple as the crime may be, it is something so easy to muddle up, to confuse.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that the media are up against all this volume of conclusion, this huge cloud of doubt.
Yeah.
And therefore, indeed, there is a great deal of tedious effort that will be required to sort things out.
Yeah.
And it had better be done quickly and early enough before the confusion runs away.
We're getting quite impatient. Popoy, what do you think?
Well, the media, particularly the social media, must be credited for putting this up as a public interest issue.
Right.
Without the media at the forefront of galvanizing public opinion and public anger over graft and corruption, this would not have attained the kind of pressure that it now has on public officials and on government institutions and on a re-examination of the way we are running this government. Now, that would not have been made possible without the media.
Well, that's actually how it exploded, isn't it?
Yeah.
On Instagram, the daughter of Janet Napoles, Jean, was exposing her lavish lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it was that prompted, really, this whole...
But in the same light, you look back and it has been 1 year.
Yeah.
And it appears that we haven't moved far from what we had in July last year.
That's true.
That is the unfortunate part of it. Despite the ability to galvanize public opinion, the translation of this pressure on government and the pressure on public officials to tell the truth, we are as confused now, maybe even more confused than when we had the million people march last year. That is the unfortunate part of this whole political telenovela for about a year
this is now a part of every Filipino's daily life. Every day we're fed with this news. If we look at some of the headlines, look at our different papers, every day, bring Napoles back to the Senate, says Cayetano. Janet kept papers on lawmakers in the list. Here we have final Napolist out today. So every day we have bits of news. In fact, the latest being that there are now secret talks between the Ben-Hur and Napoles camps. Now, do you think this is a telenovela that's happening? What do you think?
No, it is in the interest of certain people to muddle things up. I mean, you can almost predict that there will be a great deal more muddling up to be done.
Yeah.
Why? Because the idea is precisely to build that volume of confusion, of doubt around the issue, so that it would either drag out or go away.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the point of the whole thing.
Trying to distract.
So you can expect all this. And I would only hope that the media would see it in the same light.
Yeah.
We have to go back all the time to Ben-Hur Napoles, the character who triggered all this. We'll have to go back to him and his material.
Yeah.
Because to me, logically, that is the standing scripture.
Right.
I mean, everything should be reigned, should be cross-checked against that. And he seems to me to have provided enough to allow for a fair deal, although strenuous, I must say.
Yeah.
Cross-checking.
The guilty ones, those who want to escape accountability, were probably taken aback at the start and unable to control the flow of information. And clearly, nobody could make sense or could determine how the whole thing was going to turn last year. But I think they have adjusted. I mean, those who want to escape accountability, the guilty ones have adjusted, and they're now able to use media, for example, or they're now able to use social media to counterattack, to confuse, to muddle the issue, hoping that this drags on a little longer and gets closer to 2016, so that by 2016, the political scenario might be different, and they might be in a better position to stop this whole investigation. I think that is the objective of some individuals who are involved in the scam.
Right. Well, the last week, the lawyers of both the Ben-Hur camp and Napoles camp were here. And according to Attorney Rivera, who is the lawyer of Napoles, he says that Ben-Hur is not a victim here. He was part of it. So he claims that Janet Lim Napoles is not the mastermind. There are other guilty parties
No,
here.
we all know that, that he was part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not even being denied that he was part of it. That's why he's a credible whistleblower, because he was precisely part of it.
And he was kidnapped. The fact is he was kidnapped. So this is where it all
I don't
started.
think it's a question now of who is the mastermind, who is the ringleader, who is the supporting cast. Everyone who is guilty should be made accountable.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I think that is the bottom line.
I agree.
And the way to do it is to make sure everybody is treated fairly and the evidence is extracted, and those who are guilty should be sent to jail.
I don't see why we are so obsessed with finding the ringleader. I can't understand.
Everyone wants to put the blame on somebody.
This is a conspiracy among equal characters. It's a conspiracy among equals.
They always want a bad character.
And remember, corruption by its very nature cannot be done by just one individual.
Yeah.
You've got to have collusion, collaboration. You've got to have cooperation from the executive branch, from the legislative branch, from those in the NGO community. And therefore, it is immaterial on who started it and who was the ringleader. We've got to ferret out all the guilty parties. I think that should be very clear. Those who are looking for the ringleader are just confusing the issue to me.
They're afraid to be exposed also. Do you think Janet Lim Napoles makes for a credible state witness? I mean, how can we believe her after she's kept saying, "Hindi ko pa alam"?
Exactly. She has proved to be the opposite in the first place. So I cannot understand why she is being extended all this what little glorification she is at all given.
I can sympathize with DOJ Secretary De Lima in the quest to fast-track the whole thing.
Right.
Sometimes you start, looking into all possible options. Anyone who can help the case is now welcome, whether their credibility is good or not. I think the public pressure to produce results has made the DOJ secretary open to all possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's her call, and she will rise or fall depending on her decision on getting these state witnesses, getting Tuason to come in and pay 40 million. I mean, to a lot of people, that leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I suppose to Secretary De Lima, she has to produce results.
Yeah.
And so whoever can give evidence, whoever can verify the files, is now welcome to help government. I think that's what they're doing.
If there is one thing that may put everyone back on track, it is the filing of the case. If the ombudsman raises the case for trial, I mean, this will start the game over on a different
So we know something's going to happen.
track.
Well, now we have so many lists. How do you feel the media has taken this on? Because even before the lists were verified, the media was putting them out. I think because the process of the judiciary has taken so long that the media wants to put something out there. We want answers. Do you think it was fair that the list was put out even before verification?
Well, to some of those whose names were dragged into the list, clearly,
Defamation,
clearly they have something to be very angry about.
Yeah.
I think the problem with the list is that if the names are too few, the public would not believe it. But if the names are too many, then the public gets confused.
So, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Somewhere in the middle, you've got to find a way to start cleaning it up so that those who are obviously, repeat offenders, meaning they've been channeling their money to the same NGOs year after year, you've got to start cleaning it up so that, because charging all those in the list is also impossible.
Right. It will never happen in 10 lifetimes.
But charging too few gives the political opposition the ability to now tell the administration and cry foul and say, we're being persecuted. You've got to get the others. So that is the dilemma of the list. No? Too few, you don't believe it. Too many, you don't know who really are guilty.
All this requires sorting. All this requires sorting. If you have nothing but names and not much more, I can imagine how a justification can be made to put it out there in public. I cannot understand that. I mean, you must have enough. I mean, enough, certainly not just a name or something.
We'll get more into that later on.
less.
We just need to take a quick break. Has the media turned this whole thing into a trial by publicity? Stay tuned to see what our guests have to say on that.
Ang pork barrel fund, yan ay pera ng taong bayan, ay pinagkatiwalaan. Bakit ninyo sinunggaban?
PDAF ni Senator Ramon Revilla III. Ang kabuuan po ng PDAF ay 652 million.
Isinusumpa ko po sa halos 20 milyong botante na nagtiwala at bumoto sa akin na hindi po ako nag-traidor sa inyo. Bigyan niyo po ako ng pagkakataon na linisin ang aking pangalan.
PDAF po ni Senator Jinggoy Estrada, 751,500,000.
Nung hindi pa kami kinakasuhan nung nakarang administrasyon, nung panahon ni GMA, tinatayo na pala yung kulungan namin sa Fort Santo Domingo sa Santa Rosa. Ganun din ngayon. Wala pang kaso sa Sandigan Bayan. Hindi ko alam kung bakit tinatayo na yung aming kulungan sa Philippine National Police.
PDAF ni Senator Juan Ponce Enrile, 726,550,000.
As I said, I'm confident that in a fair trial, in a fair court, and I'm sure our courts are going to be fair about this, I'll have a fair chance of winning the case.
For FOI, all branches of government are explicitly covered by this, and we should provide a narrow list and clearly defined exceptions information on national security or planned operation against criminals, or jeopardizing the foreign affairs bargaining position of our country.
Welcome back to News Cafe with Vergel Santos and Paoay de Vera at the table. So what did you think of the statements of our public officials? Are they using media platforms as a way to grandstand?
Oh, yes. In the first place, look at them. Do you remember that the first statement of defense, why only us? You know, why, how about the others?
Si
I mean, and
Estrada,
nobody has taken them on this point.
Right.
Nobody is saying that reform happens that way as a matter of course. You know, in stages, and possibly in this case, 3 senators at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how reform happens.
Right.
It does not happen in a huge stroke of a terrible swift sword. It doesn't happen that way.
You have to start somewhere.
They should be told about all this.
Yeah.
What we should focus on is not what they are saying, but what they are not saying. Because what they are saying are flat-out denials, you know, forgery of signatures, I'm not involved. What they're not saying is why they're not disclosing the documents and information. I think that is where public attention should be put at. Because if you really are not involved, there should be no impediment or there should be no reason why you cannot make public documents available.
Right.
Because this whole transaction of the PDAF, it requires a paper trail. You know, in a bureaucracy like us where things are so tedious and you need so many stamps and so many signatures and there is so much red tape, the amount of paper trail available there is simply
enough evidence.
Yeah, enough evidence.
Yeah.
So why is it that when
We still can't catch them and pin them down?
And no, why is it that they're not disclosing the information? Why are they not putting the public documents up front?
Right.
None of the people who are accused have disclosed the public documents.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not what they're saying. It's what they are not doing that worries us, you know, because meaning when they say I'm not guilty, my signature was forged, it's really just stonewalling the investigation.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not in their interest to disclose the truth. I mean, the basic conclusion is that it is not in their interest to disclose the truth. I mean,
just to save their...
Exactly. But I cannot understand why those people who are supposed to indeed be not involved in this whole thing are not doing the same thing. You know, now this becomes a matter of culture. You know?
Right.
You are not going to disclose anything. For all you know, they might find something in it.
Yeah, and this is why the media is trying to put out this information, whether or not they're always checked. So is this becoming a trial by publicity? So, for example, Dean Tony Lavinia said that when the list was put out, it's now become a witch hunt. We should be careful not to let, you know, this become a hit list. What do you have to say to that?
The media, those accused and everyone involved have a responsibility to clean up the list.
Yeah.
And the best way to do this is to start looking at the paper trail. The problem is a lot of the media organizations are obsessed with, you know, with sound bites, you know, and with drama. That is the problem. If that is the case, then you couple that with the fact that the DOJ is moving a little too slow in prosecuting, then this will really become a witch hunt. Yeah. So you've got to do several things. The DOJ has to move faster. The media has to be more responsible. Academe and other third parties should get involved in ferreting out the list. You've got to have a combination of all of this so that this does not degenerate into a witch hunt. And we better do it fast because the more it drags and the more there is no clarity and the closer we get to 2016, the more difficult it becomes to get justice in this whole
other
thing.
problems will pop up.
Trial by media is one thing, witch hunt is another. A trial by media is not necessarily a bad thing.
Why?
All public trials begin in the media.
Good point.
It is all a matter of how all these trials are conducted, whether in the media or in a court of law.
Yeah.
This should be our concern. But every trial begins, especially something so public as this, every trial begins.
Well, given this issue, do you think the FOI bill is very important now as we're looking towards transparency on this issue?
I have been in newspaper for many years, for longer than I can remember. And I didn't have an FOI, and I'd like to think I've done well enough without it.
You don't think it's
The
necessary?
problem is when you have a law, you'll have to go to court and things drag out, and what you are looking for gets to you even much later than if you didn't need to go through that process.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Media people don't seem to realize that they have a very potent weapon in their hands.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
called, it's not necessarily a bad weapon. It might sound like one, but it is not. It's called a stink bomb. I mean,
Stink
you...
bomb.
all
Name
you-
and shame.
Yes, all you need
Embarrassed.
to
That's
do
what Filipinos
is-
hate to be embarrassed.
Yes.
Yeah.
The public officials must realize that media pressure comes with the territory. It's part
Yeah.
of public office.
It's defamation is kind of part of the
I mean,
game, isn't it?
If you don't want to
Yeah.
be overly scrutinized, don't go into
Don't go to
politics.
politics.
You know, nobody's
That's
putting
true.
a gun in your head and forcing you
Yeah.
to become a senator.
Yeah.
Once you go into the public sphere, you must be open to this thing because public
Yeah.
office is a public trust.
Yes.
And the,
Yeah.
and the media has a responsibility to pursue public interest.
That's why I've always preferred to be in the
Yeah.
media.
I mean, I think the legislators who are hiding behind, a lot of things and saying you're destroying the institution, etc., are forgetting one thing. A lot of the problems are self-inflicted wounds on the part of the legislature.
Yeah.
They've not been very upfront in the way they deal with things. They've not been very transparent. They watch each other's back a little too
Yeah.
much. Their leadership has not been decisive on many key issues. And then when the institution starts to shake, then they blame the media and everyone else for destroying the institution.
Again, someone
For
to
heaven's sake,
Yeah.
look at yourself first.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
If they were very transparent in their PDAF projects from the start, a lot of this information will already be out in the public, and maybe Napoles would not have had that kind of scam
Yeah.
if the information was out there all the time.
Right.
And,
The
you don't need an FOI to
That's
do
true.
this.
No,
You
don't
just
need
need
an FOI.
leadership on the part
The
of the
basic,
House and the
yes,
Senate.
the basic
Yeah.
incriminating fact is these people have lived in the House of PDAF.
For a long time. Yeah,
And
this
therefore,
started
you only
long
have
ago.
to have been a member of Congress or the Senate to be
Yeah.
credibly suspected.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
No, you are suspected because of the reputation that your institution has.
Yeah.
The media themselves are suspected because the reputation of the media is not that lily white itself.
Right, right.
You know?
How do you think President Aquino is handling all of this? Does he seem unfazed? Also, he seems to be defending some allies. How do you feel, his popularity ratings are going down, and then there's the Matuwing Daan platform. What's happening here?
I don't think the president is politically vulnerable to the extent that you would have a serious impeachment case or you'll have him tumbling down towards the end of his term. I think he's going to survive this because his name is not dragged into the whole thing.
Right.
As long as his name is not there,
he's okay.
Yeah, people are able to separate the president from the president's men.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very clear. But the president would help a lot, if he was more aggressive in this whole thing.
Yes, we want to see him do
yes,
something.
we want him to do something. We want him to tell his cabinet members, disclose all the information because we have nothing to hide. That's what we're looking for.
The president seems to me to be lying in the comfort of the presidency, because this is all very convenient for him.
Other
He doesn't have to say
distractions.
anything. But to say nothing is to be
also
in default.
Right,
you
right.
know? Because you just have to say something about it. You are expected, as the leader of this country, to say something about this issue. This is not only the issue of the season. This is the issue that goes straight in the culture of this country.
Right.
Now you have to say something.
Yeah. Well, you keep talking about how this is ingrained in our culture, and this whole system of corruption has been going on for a long time. What do you think of the media? I mean, in terms of how they are handling this, there are some issues that are not being tackled, and you always say that they're all just sitting on the bandwagon attacking one main issue. What do you think should be discussed?
Well, the point is this. There is a need to plan. If you are putting out a newspaper every day, you are going on television every night, it is not easy to plan. But I should say that. It
You know how it
is
is,
a
yeah.
very exigent
Yeah.
profession.
Yes.
So you need to do that. But that said, still, you need to bring to bear,
Right.
you know, the power, the potency of your profession on the issue.
Right.
And to be able to do this, it is, the idea is less to disclose, in this case, than to sort out.
Yeah.
You know, it is not to disclose. Because to disclose could lead or contribute to the confusion.
Yes.
You know? But to sort out, to make sense, this is what the media should be doing.
Yeah. All right.
Especially in a case so
Yeah.
confused as this.
Okay, we'll be talking more about that. We just need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll look at the role of social media in all of this.
Up a petition online following our call for the resignation of those charged with the pork barrel scam.
One thing about Scrap Pork Network, we all have hope. We believe that things can change. Yung mga gustong magnakaw, natatakot na makukulong sila. Yun naman kasi that's the reason why we're asking for justice. Why we are asking that the plunderers should be jailed.
At napatunayan namin, pagpasok namin sa loob ng palengke, talaga palang yun din naman ang gusto ng taong bayan, ng lahat ng mga magnanakaw ay mag-resign.
You're watching News Cafe, and I'm talking to Vergel Santos and Paoay de Vera. So how would you say the public is reacting to this issue through social media, Paoay?
The brilliant thing about social media is that because it's in real time and it's very fast, it has the unique ability to galvanize massive public anger and opinion at the click of the mouse. Okay. The flip side of this is that sometimes in the urgency to resolve certain issues, it gets stuck in generalities, you know, it does not favor serious discussion and debate, and those who want to discuss seriously are drowned out, you know, by the public anger. Right. And therefore, in this discussion of the PDAF, a lot of the nuances that are very important in understanding the issue are frequently drowned out, are set aside. And so we end up with a lot of groups demanding immediate action, but not showing the roadmap on how you get the results. That is the problem. Everybody just wants everything to be abolished immediately, everyone to be jailed immediately. Right. But between now and that time,
how do we get there?
How do you now mobilize public attention and action so that you do step 1, step 2, 3, 4? That is what is missing.
Yeah.
And I don't think social media has the capability to do this. That is the problem.
It's a good call to action, but you're right. Things always happen outside of cyberspace.
Yeah.
So
the evening news and tomorrow's newspaper are a business of snap decisions.
Yeah.
But they take one whole day to make that decision.
Yeah.
Now, social media is a moment-to-moment thing. You can realize how rash and how flurried and how hurried the whole process of decision making is in their case. This is really bad. I mean, you know, the downside of technology is that it has opened the whole business to just about anyone.
Yeah. You know? You have to filter through
and
all of
therefore it adds more to the confusion than to the illumination.
Right.
And
it also
this is what
seems
we
to
have
make
today.
people more cynical. How do you think the way media is treating it? Every day we hear about it. You think it's contributing to people becoming more cynical and unempathetic to the issue? Like, we just accept it. It's there.
There's another unfortunate thing in the social media now. I am worried that some of the people who purport to lead the movement in social media, themselves are allergic to details. They start going into sloganeering. They are not willing to map out and engage in putting details. And I worry for that.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to get your 15 seconds of fame, you know, and be on media and talk about jailing everyone. But I think true leadership requires the discipline, you know, to plan, the discipline to engage, the discipline to gain consensus.
Yeah.
And I am worried that a lot of the people on social media leading these campaigns are maybe not willing to do that.
So how do you feel about this? Another million people march. There's another one scheduled for June 12th, Independence Day.
I saw one in Luneta.
Yeah.
In fact, I was there and went around and listened to what people were saying.
Right.
Boy, they were saying different things. I mean, you had a whole mass there, but you had people saying different things. They had a different appreciation of things. They had different ideas of how to do things.
Yeah.
They have even different ideas of what's going on.
Right.
I mean, I can understand. So you don't have anything. Why? It is a reflection of the extent of the confusion.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because in pictures it looked so impressive, you know, around the world. Wow, these people gathered. But when you're there, you realize they're not actually really calling for the same thing. People seem to be there just like a big party. So do you think that the messages get diffused in places like this?
Oh, and at on the day of the Million People March, I went on national TV and said, I am against the outright abolition of the PDAF because it's a simplistic solution to a complex problem. And boy, you know, I really got mugged, you know, on social media, you know. Because what I was saying is, you've got to get the bigger picture. You've got to make sense of it first. Before you can understand what to do. And oversimplification really just doesn't work.
Right.
You know, that was what I was saying.
There is a place for pragmatism in this case.
Yeah.
But you must find that place.
Yes.
We were just talking, Paoay and I, about someone on the list for about 25,000 pesos.
Yeah.
Taken by someone else for a congressman. I mean, take him out of the list.
It's centavos compared to the millions that others get.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is why you were saying, Paoay, you want this link with other institutions. It's important to link with other institutions.
I think the other institutions must step up.
Yeah.
And try to start giving clarity to this confused situation. The academe, for example, is seen as an independent third party, disinterested party in a sense.
Yeah.
The academe has to step up.
Yeah.
It has to work with the media, it has to work with other groups to start putting out and investigating the paper trail and, you know, filtering through and saying, you know, these names, don't worry about it anymore, you know. But these names, you know, you've got to file cases against
Which is what
them.
UP is trying to do now.
Yeah, we're starting to, you know, try to bring together the institutes of governance of the key universities to put on a project that will construct the paper trail for the PDAF and ask senators who really believe that they are not involved to make public disclosure and give us the documents so we can piece it together.
Yes.
And locate accountability both on the legislative side, on the executive side, and find out where are the gaps where the people like Napoles are taking advantage of.
Yes.
And we are challenging the senators who really are not involved to also step up and say, I am willing to disclose all the documents.
Right.
If they really are not involved, then there should be no
There's
reason why they should be there.
The culprits, in this case, are favored by culture and a reputation that it itself a problem across institutions. This is a problem. Therefore, these culprits are using everything. Every institution. They're using the media. They're using social media, the mainstream media, social media. They're using the courts. They're using academia. They're using everything.
Well,
because,
media,
yes,
media can also be culprits here because you always say there's a gap in how they are addressing the issue. The way they tackle this whole issue. For example, Paoay, you were saying how we get starstruck by these personalities. Explain.
Yeah, what I noticed with a lot of the reporters, especially the younger ones, is that they get starstruck with the political personalities they're interviewing.
Yeah.
And instead of dictating the terms of reference on how and what information should be disclosed, they let the political personalities be the one to dictate the terms of reference. So the story becomes what the politician said, you know, and that's very dangerous because if this
They
is
have an agenda.
And if this politician is one of the guilty ones who knows how to manipulate
Exactly.
things, my God, you know, you're going to be in trouble. You know? That's what I noticed. And a lot of the media organizations and reporters are not asking the right questions.
Yes.
They're asking the
What
common
should they ask
questions.
them, for example?
For example, they should know the details of the transactions and not just ask them about forged signatures.
Yeah.
They must have access to the documents
Yes,
so they can
to do their research.
Yes, they
and
must
know.
do serious research and
Yes.
find out exactly. Because the best way to extract truth from a lying politician is to confront that politician
Exactly.
with things that he never expected will be asked.
Because it's the truth. Yeah.
The virtue,
Scare them.
the virtue in journalism
Yeah.
is informed doggedness.
Yes.
You can't be simply dogged. You cannot be simply simply bored.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's informed doggedness.
Exactly.
Knowing enough.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
to
what we
get
lack.
more than you have.
Right.
This is what you do.
Right. And this is why you always talk about pursuing the story
Yes,
further,
pursuing the
taking it
story.
out to, you know,
and,
not to,
and seeing a story through.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at the media, they stop somewhere
Yeah.
before anything is has taken its course.
or they look at what the other network or other, you know, the competitors saying, and they have to do that.
And they ask the same questions.
Exactly.
The different network, the reporters
frustrating.
ask the same
I
question.
have yet to
Yeah.
find an interviewer, you know, demanding from, say, a congressman his accounting of his own PDAF.
Yes. Confront, you know, to be more
Yes.
confrontational.
Why
and-
cannot you release?
Yeah.
I have no doubt, I mean, I have no doubt that you have your own accounting of your own
Yeah.
pork barrel.
Yeah.
Because this is precisely what you should have,
Yes.
so that you could clear yourself it at all.
Exactly. So basically you're saying the media need to be more analytical, insightful, and in-depth. in
For
research.
example, in the covering of in the media coverage of the Blue Ribbon hearings,
Yeah.
I was not only surprised but shocked that some media organizations let some senators get away with grandstanding in the hearings.
Exactly.
You know, senators talking about a slam dunk evidence and all of that. The media must put them to task.
Yeah.
That a Blue Ribbon Committee hearing is serious stuff, that you must preside over it in a very professional, in a very, in a way that brings out the truth, and not allow the political personalities to get away with statements for 2016.
Yes.
But look what happened. A lot of the media organizations allowed the senators to get away.
Yeah,
They
and
did
in
not
the-
put them in their proper place.
And in the evening, you listen to newscasters, and in the morning you read the papers, and you see that cute phrase slam dunk evidence.
It was picked up. Well, something to chew on. While we take this short break, another thought to think about. News Cafe will return after these messages. You're watching News Cafe, and we've got Vergel Santos and Paoay discussing the media's take on the pork barrel scam. Now let's go back to this issue of grandstanding. A lot of the public officials and other personalities are really using media to put out their agenda. What do you think, Paoay? I mean, you were saying how just we pick up whatever they give, you know?
Yeah, there are events, for example, in the Senate that I wish the media would have picked up differently. For example, the chair of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee releases to the media and holds a press conference talking about the committee report that is not signed.
Yeah.
The story should have been why that chairman should have been put to task for putting out a report that has not been signed by the colleague. That's a violation of Senate rules.
That's right.
And any violation of the rules destroys the content of the report and invalidates it. Instead, the media became a willing collaborator of the chairman of the committee.
Yeah. This is because the media did not even know the Senate rules.
Yes,
That's
probably
why.
the reporters did not even know the Senate rules. And the chair probably knew that the media, in their quest for sound bites, would pick up the story.
So they're manipulating the media.
Yes, and so the politicians know very well how to manipulate the media, and some of them are getting away with it.
So where should we go for clarity? I mean, now we're so cynical now. We don't know who's telling the truth. There's so many lists. Everybody has an agenda. Where should we go to find out the truth, Vergel?
As I've said, Benhur Napoles has provided the scripture, the operating text. I mean, that is the basis of all this.
Yeah.
You know? And until someone else could provide something more solid, something more extensive, and something more credible, that's where we are.
Well, can you predict what might happen next? What's next for us? Where do we go from here?
No, the one thing, as I've said, that will set us back on track would probably be the decision of the ombudsperson to raise the case to trial, because that will be a signal to the public that finally, possibly, someone might go to jail, because this is the crux of the cynicism among the public.
Right.
Is anybody really going to jail?
Do you think we'll see that happen before the next elections, or at least in our lifetime?
No, it should happen. It should happen soon enough.
We hope so.
It should happen soon enough.
Yeah.
So, is Senator Revilla or Senator Enrile or Senator Estrada going to jail?
Yeah. Do you think they're preparing for this possibility?
I suppose so. No, but that raises another question. Is the media ready to cover the hearings of the Sandigan Bayan and report on it well? I mean, that's the next challenge, you know? Because again, if it becomes sensationalized, and if the appreciation of the whole judicial process is not well explained by the media, then it will be perceived again as a dragging event that will not have a resolution, etc. And it will make people more cynical.
Well, let's talk about that, how the media is tackling this. Everyone seems to think they're a writer. Now with the internet, you can post anything. How do you think people are handling the issue? It's very superficial. I know that's what you think. We're not going in depth.
No, they're confused. I mean, at this point, they don't know how to handle the issue. They don't know how to take it.
You don't know where to
the whole
go,
thing is confused. That's why I'm saying that once it goes to trial, it could be a new beginning. And when it does go to trial, now the first question is to be asked is anybody going to suggest a televised one?
Oh boy, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
They will be trying to get access.
And then there will be a debate on whether this will confuse the whole thing further or not.
And if it is in the media, then again, grandstanding. So it's a vicious cycle.
Now, you are going to give all these people, all these characters a chance to play not only to the media, but to the public at large.
Yeah.
You know? Now, this is, to me, a very valid point for debate.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to cite something. Actually, the CMFR had a publication, Pork and Plunder Media in the Aid of Public Outrage, and it said that the media coverage of the pork barrel scam showed it is difficult to sift through all the information and conflicting opinions, but journalists and media practitioners still need to lessen the noise and offer more insight and help sustain the public focus on the issue, since exacting accountability in this country often takes too long. That's basically
what we need now,
saying.
You know, the skill required today is synthesizing. Synthesizing, making sense of. You know, these are the things that you need, because once you have been, you know, you are bombarded with information, misinformation, outright lies from all fronts.
Right.
So you need certain people to be able to make sense somehow for the public. Make some sense.
Who would these people? And I wonder who else is clean, because in another article that Melinda Quintos de Jesus wrote, she said those with clean hands can lead the way, and let's hope that indeed there are still clean hands left in Congress. Do you think there are?
I think there are, but I think the clean hands, those with clean hands, are just too afraid to come out because everybody has passed judgment already, not just on the legislators, but the institution of Congress.
Yeah.
Everybody is damned already.
Yeah.
You go to the House of Representatives now, they cannot even hold a session. You don't have a quorum. You go to the Senate, they start the session, and after a couple of minutes, they dispense, you know.
Yeah.
The level of distrust, the level of confusion is
Yeah.
just so great, the institution is grinding to a halt.
Right.
Under those circumstances,
Yeah.
it's very difficult for the good ones to come out and say,
Yes.
you know, we must
They'll
do things
drown in-
differently.
yeah, in all
That's
of
very
the
difficult.
You cannot
Yeah.
have the House of PDAF itself
Yeah.
sort out
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you cannot.
Yeah.
To me, if you ask me offhand, I would think of academia, I would think of the media, and I would
Yeah.
think of civil society.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the three, this is the triumvirate of
Yeah.
forces
Yeah.
that could be more credible probably than the others. You know? Because we are only talking here of relative credibility.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, moving forward, what then would you suggest for the ideal situation? I mean, you've stated what should be done. So if we were to really pursue this properly, what would you hope to see happen, Paoay?
I hope that the media would really be very well educated and trained on the nuances of governance. Because the
Yes.
devil is always in the details. You know? It's
Correct.
easy to generalize, but sifting through all these documents requires a very thorough and very
Exactly.
diligent reporter. So
That's why-
first,
Yeah.
the media must be well equipped for the challenging task.
Yeah.
And from there, they must be able to make sense and identify, you know, who to talk to, what to talk
Right.
about. It starts from there, I think.
It's now a beat on its own, no? The
Yeah.
PDAF beat, Lim Napoles beat.
Yeah.
Now we have another category. Yeah.
I think that's the
Experts.
bottom line. And then the media must start identifying really who are the thought leaders that can help make sense. No,
And the credible, really
yeah, the
credible
credible
ones.
ones.
Yeah.
Don't interview those who are posturing for 2016, you know.
Exactly. 'Cause this is definitely a platform for the elections, isn't it?
They have vested interest to pursue, you know.
Yeah.
Or don't go to civil society organizations who have a clear agenda already. You know,
Yes.
you have to identify who are the ones that will help clean up this confusion. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest challenge for media.
Yeah.
one particular thing that I'd like to see in the media once this thing goes to trial is a professional character and track record of whichever justice might be assigned
Right.
to hear the case. You know, I'd like that,
Yeah.
you know, to give the public an impression of what you can expect,
Right.
what quality of justice you can expect
Yeah, and
from him or her.
Exactly.
And please, when the trial comes in, I ask the media, please don't bombard the airwaves with all lawyers talking at the same time. You know, I mean,
That's horrible.
Yeah, it adds to the confusion. You've got to balance the panel. You've got to
Yes.
balance with those who look at the big picture, who look at the little details, etc. So that the sorting out the real truth, you know, from the planted truth becomes easier.
Exactly.
Because this is not just a legal proceeding.
Yeah.
Because the fate of the country is at stake here. So
Exactly.
you've got to get people from different persuasions to weigh in on the
Yes.
issue.
Really wonderful talking to you because you have the breadth of knowledge and perspective to really analyze such an issue. This is what we learn from. You are mentors to the media.
Don't know about that.
So there's a lot we learned from you. So thank you very much for sharing your insights, for being here, and we look forward to having you again, our Suki experts at Solar News Channel. And that's News Cafe for tonight. Thank you very much to Vergel Santos and Paoay de Vera for joining me on the show. We like hearing from you, so please do keep your comments on our Twitter and Facebook pages coming. Download the Solar News mobile app to watch News Cafe via live streaming or to check out previous episodes. See you next Thursday for another delectable mind brew right here on News Cafe. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Good night.
Sa bukod, hindi na pa nakasalanan ng video.
Media educators are warning calls to defend press freedom.
This corruption in media, no country should
had the million people
Yeah.
march last year.
Yeah.
That is the unfortunate part
Yeah.
of this whole political telenovela
Yeah,
for
and
about a
unfortunately,
year
this is now a part of every Filipino's
Yeah.
daily life. Every day we're fed with this in the news. And if we look at some of the headlines, look at our different papers, every day, bring Napoles back to the Senate, says Cayetano. Janet kept papers on lawmakers in the list. Here we have final Napolist out today. So every day we have bits of news. In fact, the latest being that there are now secret talks between the Ben-Hur and Napoles camps. Now, do you think this is a telenovela that's happening? What do you think?
No, it is in the interest of certain people to muddle things up. I mean, you can almost predict that there will be a great deal more muddling up to be done.
Yeah.
Why? Because the idea is precisely to build that volume of confusion, of doubt around the issue, so that it would either drag out or go away.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the point of the whole thing.
Trying to distract.
So you can expect all this. And I would only hope that the media would see it in the same light.
Yeah.
We have to go back all the time to Ben-Hur Napoles, the character who triggered all this. We'll have to go back to him and his material.
Yeah.
Because to me, logically, that is the standing scripture.
Right.
I mean, everything should be ranged, should be cross-checked against that. And he seems to know.
Yeah.
And therefore, indeed, there is a great deal of tedious effort that will be required to sort things out.
Yeah.
And it had better be done quickly and early enough before the confusion runs away.
We're getting quite impatient. Paoay, what do you think?
Well, the media, particularly the social media, must be credited for putting this up as a public interest issue.
Right.
Without the media at the forefront of galvanizing public opinion and public anger over graft and corruption, this would not have attained the kind of pressure that it now has on public officials and on government institutions and on a re-examination of the way we are running this government. Now, that would not have been made possible without the media.
Well, that's actually how it exploded, isn't it?
Yeah.
On Instagram, the daughter of Janet Napoles, Jean, was exposing her lavish lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it was that prompted, really, this whole...
But in the same light, you look back and it has been 1 year.
Yeah.
And it appears that we haven't moved far from what we had in July last year.
That's true.
That is the unfortunate part of it. Despite the ability to galvanize public opinion, the translation of this pressure on government and the pressure on public officials to tell the truth, we are as confused now, maybe even more confused than when
It provided enough to allow for a fair deal, although strenuous, I must say, cross-checking.
The guilty ones, those who want to escape accountability, were probably taken aback at the start and unable to control the flow of information. And clearly, nobody could make sense or could determine how the whole thing was going to turn last year. But I think they have adjusted. I mean, those who want to escape accountability, the guilty ones have adjusted, and they're now able to use media, for example, or they're now able to use social media to counterattack, you know, to confuse, to muddle the issue, hoping that this drags on a little longer and gets closer to 2016, so that by 2016, the political scenario might be different, and they might be in a better position to stop this whole investigation. I think that is the objective of some individuals who are involved in the scam.
Right. Well, the last week, the lawyers of both the Ben-Hur camp and Napoles camp were here. And according to Attorney Rivera, who is the lawyer of Napoles, he says that Ben-Hur is not a victim here. He was part of it. So he claims that Janet Lim Napoles is not the mastermind. There are other guilty parties.
No, we all know that, that he was part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not even being denied that he was part of it. That's why he's
form ang tatlong NGO na nag-transact na.
I invoke my right against self-incrimination.
And focus, first things first, is the vetting of the veracity, the truthfulness, of the plausibility, the credibility of the story.
Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Welcome to News Cafe. Increasing public disappointment over the slow pace of our justice system and the constant unfolding drama has the media in a frenzy, churning out what seems to be a bottomless barrel of information on the pork barrel scam. Tonight, we analyze how the media has been tackling this issue, how they influence public perception, and how they should be communicating such sensitive information. Joining me tonight are Vergel Santos, journalist and chairman of the media watchdog Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility, and Prospero Popoy de Vera, political analyst and professor of public administration at UP. Good evening, Vergel and Popoy. Thank you for joining me tonight. So it's going to be a year in July since this whole scandal erupted. How do you make sense of the evolution of this whole scandal, especially in terms of the media? Let's start with you, Vergel. How has the media tackled this issue?
Well, the media seems to me to have been adding to the confusion and sorting the confusion out. Well, not that I'm indicting them for all this. I can understand that as simple as the crime may be, it is something so easy to muddle up, to confuse.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that the media are up against all this volume of conclusion, this huge cloud of death.
Tanungin natin kung gusto mo.
Inaalok mo raw ang mga lawmakers ng mga kickbacks na manggagaling sa kanilang PDAF. Totoo po ba ito?
Hindi po totoo. Hindi po totoo. Hindi po totoo.
Sisinungaling siya kasi bago po ako pumasok, 2002, meron na siyang mga kliyente at nag-form nauna na po,